Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Sports Center. Darius Aiden. I am Darius Adams, and that is Aiden Munson, and welcome back to the show. Today, guys, we have our 2023 NBA Finals preview. We are back once again, and of course, we all know the matchup, the long-awaited matchup between the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. And Aiden, it's a lot of storylines to get to, and it is time for us to make our predictions. So, without further ado, Aiden, the floor is yours. Who do you have winning this matchup, Heat or Nuggets?
Taking the Heat in six.
Interesting.
I I feel like this is the Heat's year. I feel like this is a stronger Heat team. I feel like the bench is better. I feel like that this is not necessarily a slight on Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr., but I just don't think the Nuggets have the guys to hang in there. I just think that the Heat got more depth. I think that they're going to outlast the Nuggets, and I think they're going to ultimately win this series. I think that Jimmy Butler has shown up time and time again. Although he has had slight inconsistency, slight drop off, I think he is the guy, and I think that he will show and prove why he is one of those guys in the league, one of those top guys. I think that this will get to 6 or 7 games. I said six, but I think there's a big possibility it could get to seven just because of Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is an amazing player, and I said the MVP of the league, the MVP of the league. I I don't care anymore. I'm gonna say it how I want to say it. He is the MVP of the league, regardless of how y'all feel about Nikola Jokic. I mean, regardless of how you feel about Joel Embiid. And I think that he is going to show up like he shows up every time. But I think that but you need more than him to win the series. Okay. I like Jamal Murray, but I don't know if I trust him enough to see if he'll show up like he showed up in the Western Conference Finals. And Michael Porter Jr. is always going to be Michael Porter Jr. This man can have back spasms at any moment in time, you know, and be sidelined. I don't. It's really inconsistent here, and I don't know if I trust their bench enough to hang with the Heat when the starters aren't in. There's also the factor of Tyler Hero and him being back in the lineup and him being consistently back in the lineup. And I think that he has a big role to play as he is probably one of the best 6 men in the league. And yeah, that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the Miami Heat.
Aiden, I have to disagree with you here. I have to disagree with you there. I'm going to take the Nuggets. I'm going to take them in 6 games. I think this will be a 6 game series. I don't think this will be a sweep. I don't believe this will be a gentleman's sweep. I think both teams are really well matched for each other. And I think for the Denver Nuggets, I think they hoped for this matchup for the Heat because I do believe the Celtics are a far more talented team on paper than the Miami Heat. And although the Miami Heat have more consistent role players, we just can't say the Nuggets have not gone through teams throughout these playoffs that have had solid benches. Especially, let's look at that Western Conference Final Series against the Lakers. The Lakers had a pretty stacked lineup. I think they're one of the far better teams as far as talent goes in the Western Conference. Between the talent to do it between LeBron and AD, and you also have to bring in to account the guards and Schroeder and Lonnie Walker and D'Angelo Russell. And don't forget, you still have guys in Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. That's a pretty talented team, and they swept them. And the reason why I want to take the Nuggets here is just solely because of the fact that Cole Jokic. And I know that's pretty simple. I know that's pretty vague to say, but it's obvious. Look at who he's going against. It's Nikola Jokic against Bam Adebayo. The Miami Heat clearly have no other big man presence on that roster, and we saw that clearly in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the reason why I'm going to take the Nuggets, and I'm going to go in more in depth with my Jokic point, is that look at the Eastern Conference Finals. Go through the tape between games 4 and game 7 and see how poorly Bam Adebayo performed in those 4 games. Throughout the course of those games, he had an offensive disaster class, and he played like he wanted the Heat to lose. He played like he was in the Celtics jersey. He completely disappointed me. He completely underperformed his expectations. He really almost cost the Miami Heat the series in a trip to the finals, and he really almost cost the Miami Heat to land on the wrong side of history. We all know the odds the Miami Heat were facing going into Game 7. teams were 0 and 150 when it comes to choking a 3-0 lead in the playoffs. If it wasn't for the well played performances by guys like Caleb Martin and Gabe Benson and Jimmy Butler, that record would be 1 in 150, and that would be solely because of it. That would solely be because of Bam Adebayo. And going into this finals matchup, I'm just gonna say it: Jokic is going to dog out Bam Adebayo in this series. It's just clear and evident. And we can talk about the role players from the Miami Heat. You know, they've had some great performances. We can talk about Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin, who have played phenomenal throughout this series. But I do think guys like Michael Porter Jr. and Eric Gordon and KCP and Bruce Brown, who really did perform well against the Lakers, will really show up in this series. I think Jamal Murray, he won't have a drop off in his performance against the Miami Heat. I know they have great defensive guards. You can probably put Kyle Lowry. You could probably put Jimmy Butler on him. But I do believe Jamal Murray, although he may not have enough scoring production like he did against the Lakers, where he had just an offensive, juggernaut performance in all four of those games. But I do believe Jamal Murray will have a great series. A great series. He will put together a great collection of games that will eventually lead the Nuggets to winning the chip. And I think for the Nuggets, the game plan is simple. All goes through Jokic. That's the game plan. And just like Jokic go to work. KCP was knocking down shots, along with Michael Porter Jr. So was Aaron Gordon, especially in Game 4. It left him open from the three, and he was making those 3-point shots. The Miami Heat just can't underestimate this roster. The Miami Heat, in my opinion, I'm gonna agree with you there, have more depth. On paper, I can make the argument that they have a more talented roster. But at the end of the day, the Bam Adebayo has no chance at all of trying to stop, contain Nikola Jokic at all. Point blank, period. And that's really the only reason I need to justify my argument that the Nuggets are going to win this series. Nuggets in six. Bam Adebayo is going to underperform in this series. He did throughout games 4 and 7 against Al Horford and Robert Williams. What makes you think he won't perform the same way against a two-time back-to-back MVP who even a guy like Anthony Davis couldn't even stop? A guy we consider one of the better defense players in this league. He couldn't even stop Jokic. He just had to look around and say, "Man, this man just makes some crazy shots." We saw the highlights. Nikola Jokic making fadeaway threes on one leg. If Anthony Davis couldn't stop that, if LeBron James couldn't stop that, if Karl Anthony Towns couldn't stop that, if Rudy Gobert couldn't stop that, if Kevin Durant or DeAndre Ayton couldn't stop that, what makes you think Bam Adebayo can? Nuggets in six.
I, you can. I don't think you can. Never could. I think Bam's about to get dogged the fuck out. I think Bam get embarrassed. But I don't need Bam to play a phenomenal game to win this series. I don't. I need him to play a half decent game. I need him to make sure Jokic doesn't get 50 on him. I just need him to mildly contain Jokic to a certain degree so that the rest of the team picks up the slack and performs. They did. Like they've been picking up his slack this entire playoff run. I've never been a Bam Adebayo guy. You know this. I don't think Bam Adebayo is that everybody else thinks that he is. Even when we did our 20 under 25, when we did our 25 under 25 list, I didn't on my list because I didn't believe in the type of was. I just don't see it. I don't see what everybody else sees. I think he's lackluster on offense, and I think that he's above average sometimes on defense, but I think he gets embarrassed by far better players on the defensive side of the court. I've always felt this way. But I don't necessarily need Bam Adebayo to go over there and lock down Jokic and make him only score
Yes, you do. Yes,
15
you do.
points.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because the Nuggets
I,
run completely through Jokic. You need Bam Adebayo to fully contain
I
Jokic
need him to get
in
some
the series. You need him
turnovers.
to.
I need him to get some. Um, I need him to. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. Point blank period. I need him to show up to a certain degree. How about that? I need him to show up to a certain degree. I'm just saying that I don't need him to look like a fucking like giant killer out there. Okay? I need him to show up to a certain degree.
You need him to show up like he's the
I
second
don't
best player on the championship team.
I have to keep I don't think he's anyway. I'm not we're not a Bam out of bio rant. I have to disagree with you on the Jamal Murray situation. I don't think he can. I think he's finna get locked down. I like Jamal Murray, but I think Jimmy's finna lock his ass down. I think Jimmy's finna lock his ass down. I don't. I just point blank period. I don't think he's gonna get erased off the court, but I don't think he's finna show up. Just how I feel about the situation here.
I will agree with you on this.
I just feel like he.
Yeah, I will agree with you on this. I think that Miami Heat have more capable defenders to possibly contain Jamal Murray compared to the Lakers. Because you look at the Lakers, you start off the first couple of games, well, probably game one with D'Angelo Russell and Jamal Murray, and saw how that um, worked out. Then you eventually put guys like Schroeder on him, and Schroeder played the best defense he could on Murray, and yet he was still getting buckets. And I do believe Jimmy Butler is a far better defender than both Russell and Schroeder. I do believe that. But if you're asking Jimmy Butler to try to contain Jamal Murray at all costs, I do believe you're going eventually going to have Jimmy Butler to have a drop off in offensive production. And if you're the Miami Heat, you cannot afford that. So you're going to have to put guys like Caleb Martin. You're going to have to put guys like Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry on
Who
him.
have showed up? Who have
I
showed
do
up?
agree with you on that. They will show up. But Jamal Murray is so great of a player that he's still going to find a way to score. Jamal Murray is not a scorer. I'm not saying that you think he is. He is an all-star level point guard. He can get buckets. He is a certified bucket getter. He's one of the better offensive scoring guards the league has today. And we have seen that throughout the first round against Minnesota, the second round versus the Phoenix, the third round against the Lakers. And I think we will see that eventually in this series versus the Miami Heat. I think Jamal Murray has been the reason why the Nuggets have gotten so far. And I don't believe, especially now, especially knowing that he was dealing with some injuries and some illnesses and some infections and whatnot. Now considering that he has had about a week of rest, I do believe he will. I do believe that he will show up and show out and perform throughout the series, even with Jimmy Butler trying to guard him in this series, which I believe will happen.
All right. I'm gonna close it out for us here. I think the series could honestly, I feel like it definitely could go either way. I've chosen the Heat here for my reasons, and you have your reasons, of course, for choosing the Nuggets. And we're not gonna beat a dead horse with you here right now. We just gonna have to wait and see. And of course, we will be tuned in and excited to watch the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat face off in the finals. And I believe this is the Denver Nuggets' first time in
First
the
time.
first time in Denver Nuggets history, franchise history, in the finals. First time for an all-time great in the Cody. Yes, I said all-time great. When you're a back-to-back MVP, you're an all-time great. But that's it for me, Darius. You got anything else to say?
If the Miami Heat want to win this series, Bam Adebayo will have to try to stop Jokic at all costs, and that will not happen. I don't expect it to happen, and that's that. Nuggets in six. I think Nikola Jokic will cement his legacy among the greats, and he will continue to do so for many, many years to come. The first championship ever is going to come to Denver, Colorado. That's my final words. Nuggets in six.
Yeah. Heat and six.
Yeah. Peace. Thank you for joining us here on Sports Darius Aiden. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.